What up, your boy C. Rizzy coming at you with Unit 8, Lesson 1, the Pythagorean Theorem and its Converse. Your essential question: how do you find a side length or angle measure in a right triangle? And our objective is to use the Pythagorean Theorem and its Converse. Your essential understanding: if you know the lengths of any two sides of a right triangle, you can find the length of the third side by using the Pythagorean Theorem. Okay, so here's what the Pythagorean Theorem says. It says if you take any one of your legs, square it, plus your other leg, square it, and they add up to what is your hypotenuse squared. So what you famously know it as a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But a and b are interchangeable, okay? It doesn't matter which leg is a, which leg is b. I could call this leg A if I really wanted to. I could call this leg B if I really wanted to. But hypotenuse C is always the same. The hypotenuse will always be the C value. Okay, so a Pythagorean triple is a set of non-zero whole numbers that satisfy the equation a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So what that just means is that if I had a triangle, a right triangle, 3, 4, 5, 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. 9 plus 16 equals 25, which is true. Okay, so these are like sometimes what we call, they're Pythagorean triples, sometimes what I call perfect right triangles. So the first two values are the legs. The last value is the hypotenuse. The reason I know that that's the hypotenuse is because the hypotenuse is always the largest side or longest side of a right triangle. Alright, so what is the length of the hypotenuse in this triangle? Do the side lengths form a Pythagorean triple? Explain. So for it to be a Pythagorean triple, the c value here has to be a perfect integer. So no fraction, no decimal. So let's do, we'll call this a, we'll call this b. So 20 squared plus 21 squared has to equal c squared. So 20 squared is 400 plus 21 squared is 441. No, I'm not doing this on the top of my head. I'm using a calculator. 400 plus 441 is 841, which equals c squared. Take the square roots, and the square root of 841 is 29. So, since c is a perfect whole integer, it is an integer, then yes, this is a Pythagorean triple. Okay, what's the value of x? Express your answer in simplest radical form. This is a, b, c. So x squared plus 8 squared equals 20 squared. X squared plus 64 equals 400. Subtract 64. X squared equals, I should be able to do this off the top of my head, 336. Yep, 336. Okay, and 336 doesn't have a perfect square root. So x equals, what we need to do is we need to do our factor tree. Okay, factors of 336. So I'm going to take a guess here and say that maybe 6 is a factor. It is. 6 and 56. That goes down to 3 and 2. Okay, so there's 2 primes. Now I'll do 56, and I'll just easily divide that by 2. Get 2 and 28. 2 is a prime number, and we'll just keep it going. Let's do 7 and 4, 2 and 2. So 7's prime, 2 is prime, 2 is prime. So I'm just going to list all my primes I have. 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 4 2s, a 3, and a 7. So I've got a pair of 2s, another pair of 2s, so that's going to come on the outside of my radical. And underneath goes a 3 and a 7. So my answer is going to be 4 radical 21. Okay, the converse to the Pythagorean theorem says that if you are given three sides of a triangle, if you get equals, if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then it has to be a right triangle. If not, let's say the c squared is greater than the a squared plus b squared added up, then I get an obtuse triangle. Or if it's less than, I get an acute triangle. So the question is, how do I figure out what's C, what's A, what's B? So C will always be the longest side of the triangle. And then the other two sides, doesn't matter how you order them, will be your A and your B. So for instance, a triangle has side lines 6, 11, and 14. Is it acute, obtuse, or right? So this is going to be C. We'll call this A, we'll call this B. So I always start this out by going C squared blank A squared plus B squared. And I'm going to solve this out and what's here, and then I'm going to wait to see what I'm going to put in this section. So I'm going to fill in what I got. 14 squared blank 6 squared plus 11 squared. 14 squared is 196 blank 36 plus 121. 36 plus 121 is 157. So now I fill this in. This is greater than, so this must be an obtuse triangle. Since this is what c squared was, this is what a squared plus b squared is. And since that's greater, that's an obtuse triangle. Okay, do one more time. 7, 8, and 9, so A, B, and C. 9 just happens to be the longest side, so that has to be C. So 9 squared blank, 7 squared plus 8 squared. So 81 blank 49 plus 64. 81 blank 49 plus 64 is 113. So it's a less than symbol. So this is an acute triangle. All right, that's all for me.